right.
So
Well, I only have 4. I don't have 5.
we're gonna get the worst out of the way. I do have 5 items. I guess I'll start since you only have 4. But my top 5 worst things. I'm gonna start from my bottom, work my way up to the top. The very first thing on my list is charging $19 for a stupid polishing cloth. That is one of the. And by the way, they are now in stock again. So now you go buy your $19 polishing cloth, the only cloth you're allowed to use on these new MacBook Pros with these displays, according to Apple. But the fact that they came out with a polishing cloth on the same day when they used to include something like that inside of the box.
I actually forgot about that one. So actually, that's a good one.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think there was a cloth in there. It was a really cheap one, but I think there was a cloth.
Oh, so the $19 one is an upgrade.
That's correct. You got to get an upgrade. But yeah, that polishing cloth was one of the stupidest things. And the fact that, people like on Christmas were opening gifts and someone pretended to go crazy on the $19 polishing cloth was perfect. So that was, I thought, pretty funny.
So that's your number 5 or number 1?
Yeah, that's number 5. That's because I wasn't buying that pieces, at all. But I'll go with my 4th one since you still have one more. Since you have 4. The next one was the MagSafe battery pack. I thought that product design was terrible.
Okay.
It looks bad. It only works with certain phones, and it doesn't look like an Apple product. And the fact that it looks so bulky on the end, and there were just some, like you can't even do reverse charging on it, which actually this proved that reverse charging was possible, but it's still not enabled at all on the iPhone. So it just kind of pointed out that Apple could do more with their phones, charging your AirPods as an example, but it's not enabled. So that was my number 4.
Okay. So my number 4 was not necessarily, well, I guess it's not a physical product. Okay. My number 4 is the CSAM, the child sex abuse material.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a good idea, but not well received by the privacy advocates. So Apple has tabled the project for now and is doing additional research and tweaking. Whether they're going to release it later on in this year or next year, who knows? But it's just been received with mixed reviews. And so they kind of tabled it. Because I didn't even know they tabled that.
I didn't even know they tabled that.
Yep.
That was news to me. When did they make that announcement, or where did you hear from that?
I didn't really get a date on it, but it's just, I say tabled. It's been back tabled, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. So I'm just assuming it's kind of postponed for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one I did not have on my list. I think we were mixed on it. To me, it's not that big of a deal. I thought the good thing was the messages one, where the parents get the messages, which is not that.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the whole crux of the matter is what side of the line are you on? Total privacy, or and that's and that kind of ties in with my number 3 in a sense.
Oh, you might as well just tie into your number 3. Go ahead.
Well, my number 3 is this alternative app store payment debacle.
Yep.
And again, it's all a matter of the customer's perspective. I bought into Apple because one of the reasons is because I wanted it to be a safe, secure environment. I don't have to worry about hackers. So now if you open up the App Store to alternative payment methods, you're opening the door potentially for hackers. And it's like, now if I have a problem, who do I go to? Do I go to Epic? Do I go to Apple? Right now, I have a problem with billing or whatever, I go to Apple. And it's taken care of. Whether you use the Apple card and you go to Goldman Sachs, or you go right to Apple customer service. So for me, I think part of this is, again, from a customer perspective, I want one source to buy and customer service.
If the day comes that they have to do that, then as customers who can make the choice, might I add, of that decision, If you decide not to go through Apple's App Store, now, of course, there's going to be a pricing difference probably, which is what's going to happen. You're going to have a discount if you go through the other payment methods compared to Apple. But you have to realize if you have a problem with that company, Apple's probably going to wipe their hands.
Well, I disagree with that. If there was a price difference, in other words, Apple's getting 30% of whatever the cost of the product is, right? Mm-hmm. From, let's say, Epic. Well, if that 30% is built into the price, what do they care?
Right.
If they're fighting for an alternative method for billing, they're not saying that the alternative billing, the price is going to be less to their customers. It just means there's going to be more profit for them.
So I'm going to tell you a good situation I ran into. I was going to buy a Cameo for something for Christmas. The person I asked a Cameo for, I paid through the app. I used Apple Pay to pay for it. The guy hit me back up through a private message, which I can't respond back without paying for it because that's a feature of Cameo that doesn't allow me to. They told me to rebuy on the Cameo website and buy it there instead of Apple because Apple takes a 30% cut. So not only did he do that, but then he charged more. So he changed the price around. So I was going to be charged more money than what I was advertised, which was like a $60. It went up to like $80. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Through their website?
Yeah, no, but he changed it everywhere. He changed the price everywhere.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't just the app. It was also on, but I was like, well, that's not fair. Why am I was advertised you to be this amount of money. And because of what that's your fault. Then you should charge more in the first place. And then I wouldn't have even cared. Because if it was $80, I still would have bought it, Right. But now that he promised me for this price, and now he's charging me this price, I said, no way. So this is an example of where someone has denied my payment, and what they've done is they've tried to force me to go on the web version of it to pay for it using a credit card to save them money to get them, more money back on their
right.
On their Cameo. It wasn't even a celebrity. It was it was something else. It wasn't even that. But the point is, I didn't do it. And this is an example of, the problem that exists out there, that people don't like the amount of money that's taken out of their payment. Well, then you got to add that into your price of what you're charging.
Or, we got to remember that as a vendor, if you want to get to the audience that the Apple App Store has, that costs you something.
Right. And
nobody's breaking your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody's breaking their arm to sign that contract. Right. If you sign the contract, abide by the contract. Mm-hmm. What? So you don't like it now after you have access to billions of customers. Now you want to change the rules? That's not how it works.
Well, that's now made me not want to go on their platform either. So look at it like that. So that makes so now he's out of a gig, and it makes me not want to do it. So that's that. We have to move on to the next thing. I'm going to go to my idea. This is something I have in my home now that I absolutely love, especially that I upgraded to the new Apple TV this year. It is the HomePod, and the fact that Apple has ended the HomePod entirely. And what I find ironic is that in Apple stores, they made these new HomePod rooms, to showcase their sound.
Are you talking about the HomePod Mini or the HomePod?
No, the HomePod.
The original.
Yeah,
okay.
The original HomePod. Yep. They ended the HomePod, and they had all these different stores that had all these beautiful rooms to showcase the sound quality of the HomePod. Well, now they're completely pointless. Now they're just going to have minis in there, which are nowhere near the sound of those HomePods. Right. The fact that I have this almost surround sound experience from my Apple TV 4K, because I upgraded to the 4K Apple TV for one reason. That is to have better control with the HomePod, because it was able to sync the wireless audio much better than the first one. And ever since I made that change, it is so much better as far as the syncing goes. I still have at times here and there where it goes out for a second, comes back, but it doesn't happen often. But the idea of them ending the HomePod sucks, because I think it's a great product. it's not what everyone thought it was going to be, and I think Apple marketed it incorrectly.
Right.
Because we were in the store, we always had to say, well, this is really a audio product first. But the problem is it's got Siri on the top of it for you to press and make it look like a home automation product. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't work the way that people thought it was going to, and people didn't like it. But I think the sound for home.
When you say people, I think the mass market didn't like it.
No.
The audiophiles
they didn't
liked
the
it.
price.
Right, exactly. If they sold it for $99, they would have sold them out the wazoo.
Right, but the other problem is that it just didn't have a speaker output. Like you couldn't add, another output option on there, so that limits you on what you could do with it. So there was a lot of limitations with it, and there still is, with the HomePod.
Listen, I'll talk about it when we get up further because I too have something that ties into the HomePod. But
okay,
all right.
Well,
so that was your number. That was your number 3.
Okay. The worst of the 3. Yep.
All right. So my number 2, believe it or not, and I know you're going to disagree with this, are AirTags. Not because they're not a good product. It's just that it's just not my favorite. I don't have a current need to have them, to use them, and it's like, no big deal for me. Didn't shake me one way or the other. So I just said, that made my list of, again, most disappointing for me.
Do you even have a tracking system with any of your stuff?
Yes, I have a wife. She tracks everything I do.
Good. That was awesome. I can't come back with that. I just can't come back with that. I got nothing on that one. That's perfect. Well, I do have a wife, but does not know where all my stuff is all the time. So yeah, I had to get rid of that. So my number 2 worst is Apple's promise of universal control. And if you remember what that is, it was announced alongside Monterey and the iPad. It bridges the Mac and the iPad devices to use a single mouse and keyboard for both the drag and drop content between the two. And this is not even going to come out till the spring. And it was promised in the fall. So this is, again, Apple delaying something to not come out till very close to the end of the operating system, which will tie into my number 1 in general. But universal control was a cool feature I thought would be really awesome to have drag and drop stuff from your iPad. It could really add to your experience of a Mac and an iPad and what you could do with that, especially like between files. Like if I'm working on something here and I can go drag it over to my iPad, I think that would be so helpful. But this is a feature that is not coming out. They delayed it, and I'm very disappointed that Apple has not addressed it fast enough.
Yeah,
because it's a cool feature that it's probably the best feature that Monterey was going to have. SharePlay came out a little late too. Even SharePlay took a whole update to come out. But I would have loved the idea of your mouse and your trackpad working simultaneously between and drag one to another. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would agree. Yep.
So that's a feature that I'm very upset about them. But you're number 1.
My number one is the HomePod Mini. And this is how it ties into the HomePod. I'm just pissed that they discontinued the HomePod.
Yeah.
The HomePod Mini for $99. Yeah, I get it. But for me, I'm not getting it. I don't buy it. I don't want it. Mm-hmm. For me as a musician, I enjoy good sound. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna. Well, in the old days when you had your stereo equipment, you spend $600 to $1,000 for stereo equipment, and you buy $99 speakers. No, you buy top quality, expensive speakers for the reproduction of the sound. And along with you, I'm just disappointed that they discontinued the HomePods. I would have liked to seen them at least have them still available if you want them.
Right. Well, they should have cut the price down even more, or they should have done something.
Well,
like even if you just take the Siri feature away or something, like just keep the sound, keep what you could do with it compared to the Apple TV. Which next episode I want to talk about what we would like to see in 2022, which I think could tie into this and the Apple TV, having a combo product kind of together. But this to me was, it just didn't make any sense, especially that they put so much effort into it. I mean, it comes across like a failing product, which to me, it's like no different than the iPod Hi-Fi. Remember that?
Yes.
That was a failing product too.
But the HomePod, in my opinion, is not a failing product. Is it a niche product? Yes. Is it for the $99 market? No. It's for the audiophile or for the videographer or the person that's streaming movies and wants beautiful, vivid sound. And, not to mention that it adapts to the room. You don't even have to do anything special.
Right.
So
it's funny too, how people like with the AirPods Max, how people trash that product. And it's a selective group of people that get that product. But I will say over the year, a lot of people really like that as their traveling headphones. Like they really like them. So people really like the AirPods Max. So as much as we trash the price of it, which I still will do, I think that thing needs to be $100 cheaper. I think the AirPods Max somehow, some way, kind of grew on people, even though there's some limitations on what it could do.
I kind of
it's the same thing with the HomePod. I think it grew on me. I think it was the best quality sound for the price. I had to buy 2 speakers though to make sound look great. So if you think about it, at the time, if I didn't work there, I would have to pay $349 twice. And I paid half that because we got a 50% discount.
Yeah.
Which was, I thought, the correct price for it.
Well, but keep in mind, when you're talking about an audio product in probably just when you were born, you had a stereo that filled half the room and you had tall speaker cabinets that cost you a lot of money. Bose made their mark in that speaker market. I mean,
high quality, the higher quality. Yep.
So
Sonos, I would say,
they were not cheap. They were not cheap. Clips, the same thing. Now you see these Clips headphones all over the place for $19. Well, back in the day, Clip speakers were some top shelf stuff. So, but anyway, so they're my 4 most disappointing.
And my number 1 is software in general when it comes to Apple. Software has taken a back seat big time. I will tell you the amount of bugs in Monterey. Like people couldn't even put an SD card in their reader in these new Macs when the first Monterey was out. Like it didn't even work. And there's been so many buggy issues with iOS 15. Features that are announced that don't come out till like the very last possible time frame. There are just so many software problems I think that they need to work on. I already told you, the camera. You should not have to swipe 7 times to go from time lapse to video. And now you add cinematic, like on my phone as another one to add on. You can't do that anymore. There's got to be a better way. And they have just been, I honestly think they have been putting so much resources in their stupid car and maybe in their hardware, because I think the hardware has been getting so much better. They're forgetting about the software, which is a core reason why these products are so good.
Yep.
So
well,
they're forgetting that. They're causing too many problems. Like there's just too many bugs and there's too many things missing that are promised that don't deliver. I just can't. I'm at the point now where iOS 16 and all these have to address these things. Like they have to address them.
Well, I always thought that, when you're talking about software, I always thought that the pages, numbers, and Keynote, they never paid, not that they didn't pay attention.
They still
to
don't.
It, not that but they didn't emphasize the products enough. The only people that emphasized it were...
Final Cut Pro on iPad doesn't even exist, and it's got an M1 chip in it.
Yeah.
Like how is that not out yet? Why is Apple not making something compatible for it? It has a USB-C. It could do everything that basically a Mac can do.
Yeah.
there's so much software problems within this company now that it's starting to become very obvious. I know maybe to you it wasn't so obvious, but as I point out things that are definitely an issue, it's a problem. Well, and you can see a lot of videos about it.
I would say the issue is not so much the software, but the lack of development of the existing software.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you're gonna promise something, you need to deliver it. And I'm tired of waiting till the spring until the next OS comes out for it to be released.
Well, how about the multi charger where you can put your iPhone and the watch and the thing? I mean, do they still?
That's a hardware product. I mean, that's a hardware product. I mean, I wouldn't count that as software, but I mean, there is software has something to do with it, but I think that was more of a hardware issue.
Well, I think
there's so many options out there to buy now. There's no point in even bother making this Mac.
Yeah, well, I guess my point is that if you suggest, whether it be software related or hardware related, that you're going to have this, well, bring it to fruition. Don't just say, well, we're not going to do it.
Right.
You know?